Ladies and gentlemen, this year's commencement address speaker, Mr. Scott Case. You bet. You guys actually had to work for this. That was impressive. So I think if I've got the schedule right, I'm standing between you and graduating. So I'm going to be incredibly brief, but not as brief as you might think, which is just to congratulate you and leave. But really, congratulate you. This is a special day. It's a special milestone in your life. It's one of those key pegs that you'll look back on as a place where adventures began. And you've had a lot to get here. Many of you have had second jobs and families to attend to, and you made a real commitment to get this degree. And so for that, I'd like to congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. And so when I reflect on my own college graduate, I barely graduated, not for academic reasons, but I had other projects I wanted to pursue. But it was a seminal moment in my life, and I'll chat a little bit about that. But I really want to talk about three things today, and they tie back to something that I think all of you have adopted as members of the Citadel family. And that's honor, duty, and respect. And I view those through the lens of an entrepreneur. I've started lots of companies. I've grown lots of companies. I've had plenty of failures. It's weird. We don't talk about those very much. I'm not going to talk about them today either. But we have them. It's part of life. It's sort of how you pick yourself up afterwards that really sets you apart from everyone else. And so I'll start with the honor piece. So for me, I translate honor into really gratitude and being grateful. Nobody gets really anywhere without anybody else. We all need people to help us get here today. And everybody, all the graduates here, somebody special, probably a whole group of people, helped you get here today. And so I want to start by having you do something that you probably weren't supposed to do, but I know you all did it anyway, which is I'd like you to take out your cell phones. Okay? Just pull out your cell phones. I know you've been dying to do it anyway. You might as well get started on it. You already had yours out. That's okay. Yeah, you in the back. I saw you. It's okay. You thought I wasn't paying attention. And what I want you to do is I want you to send a message to people that are in the audience here today, someone that helped you get here today. Do it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever the newest fangled thing is these days. But do it and thank them. And I'll prattle on for a little bit while you do that. This will mostly be for you people then. So my own background, there were a few key people that I'm incredibly grateful for. My father, who actually helped me get through engineering school, despite every year me wanting to quit and start a company. It was the most important thing that I could have done in that time was to get that degree. And so I greatly appreciate it, even though I didn't understand it at the time. My mom, who taught me one of the greatest lessons, and she continues to remind me of it, that it's always more valuable to give than it is to receive, and how that translates. And then my wife, who I met in college as an undergraduate, we've known each other for 25 years, and she's actually what led me here today, because without her, I wouldn't have known Dean McNamara, who's standing back here somewhere. Or did you get to sit finally? Good job. So those are the people that helped get me going. And in my case of my wife, incredibly tolerant. The entrepreneur's life is no joke. It's long hours and a little bit of nuttiness and a lot of ambition, not always necessarily tied to reality. But that's what makes things happen. And so for me, those are the people that sort of I honor and have helped me to build Priceline.com as the Chief Technology Officer, to work on ending malaria deaths, and to pursue helping other entrepreneurs around the country through my work at an organization called Startup America. So first thing, honor. Be grateful. It's really important to reflect on that. And you've accomplished a lot, but you didn't get here on your own. Second thing is duty. I translate that into being in service of others. It's hard to do. We all have busy lives. We all have complicated things going on. But I've sort of translated that into just saying yes. Now, sometimes that can be dangerous. Most of the time, it's unbelievable what happens when you just say yes to things. And it's pretty simple. You just try to find your way to get to it, whether it's to be helpful to somebody else or to take on the responsibility of giving a commencement address, it's probably the hardest speech you ever give. And for me, one of the times I said yes was to a fellow businessman, an entrepreneur named Ray Chambers. He's a philanthropist, really smart guy, very, very ambitious. And he called me on the phone in 2006 and said, I've been studying this malaria problem. And he said 500 million people get sick every year, 1.2 million of them die, mostly in sub-Saharan Africa, mostly children under 5. And I've decided I'm going to launch an organization with a co-founder and we really need some help. And I just want your help launching this. And I said, I'm super busy, but I'll help you in every way that I can. And we launched an organization called Malaria No More. And I spent the first few months just helping him out and trying to get organized, and found myself 4.5 years later, having run the organization for 3 years as the CEO, traveled all around Africa, and saw the impact that not only this disease has on people, but what we can do about it. We have all the tools and the technology. In fact, I'm happy to report that we've cut the mortality rate in half, so half as many children are dying every year as was before. Thank you. We got a lot of ways to go. I'm hopeful that we should be in a place by the end of 2015 where many, many countries in Africa are actually got mortality down to 0, which is the first stage of actually eliminating deaths from malaria. And we've done it everywhere humanity has tried. Malaria is very prevalent here in South Carolina. In fact, the irritating mosquito that bites you in the evenings here is the same mosquito that spreads malaria, but we're fortunate that nobody here has malaria. So my simple saying yes led me on this crazy adventure traveling all around Africa and learning about something in public health and international, working with lots of other organizations around the world to achieve those goals. But it started with one simple thing, was saying yes. So that's my sort of view of duty and basically taking on being in service. And the last thing is respect. And I have a little bit of a different twist on this, but for me, respect is about relationships. I mentioned Startup America. I've traveled all around the country working with lots of different entrepreneurs in cities like Charleston and throughout the United States, focusing on helping entrepreneurship grow because it's the most critical asset we have. From an economic standpoint, all the net jobs created, all the jobs you guys are all pursuing, come from companies less than 5 years old that are in growth trajectories. That's it. So it's all about that growth company. And when I was traveling around the country, I did a stop in Wisconsin. And I gave a talk, and I talked a little bit about the importance of entrepreneurship. And I got a question I'd never gotten before. And the question was really simple, but it stumped me. There's nothing like being stumped on stage in front of several hundred people. And the question was this: if you could go back in time and tell your 25-year-old self just one thing, what would it be? I stood there for a while, and I was like, I don't know, you think about all the tactical strategies, the mistakes that I made, the things I wish I'd done differently. And even the things that like, well, maybe I could tell somebody about who was going to win the Super Bowl or the World Series. That could be profitable. So 45 seconds later into this pause, I realized that the thing that I wish I had learned much earlier in my career was about relationships. That for entrepreneurs and for all of us, it's that connective tissue that actually is the thing that gets anything done. It's all about having authentic relationships that you invest in and that you give into. And so it's with that I'll close, which is you've formed a lot of relationships here at the Citadel. There's lots of relationships here in the audience with you. That's the feedstock to you having your own impact on the world. And I don't doubt for a second that all of you will take on something meaningful and will have a big impact on the people around you. And so I'll wrap up where I started, which is around being grateful and gratitude. It's also an opportunity to stretch. So all the graduates, please stand up for a second. Come on, stand up. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is to point yourselves generally at the audience, people that you know, friends and family, and I'm going to ask you to thank everybody. And so on 3, I want you to say thank you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you guys, everybody. Congratulations. Great job.